Hi, I'm Keziah Gibbons. My pronouns are she and her. I'm the founder of the Guided by Keziah app, and this is this week's tarot reading for the week ahead. And because it's Samhain week, this is an ancestor-themed tarot reading. So I'm going to talk you through the spread, and then we'll go ahead and pull some cards. So you'll see here, I've got at the top 3 different positions: family, spirit, and place. And these are, everyone has different frameworks, there's no right or wrong, but this is the way that I see different types of ancestors. So you've got ancestors of family, the people who went before you. They might be genetically related, they might be people who brought you up, and that's your ancestors of family. You've got ancestors of spirit, so this might be people who did the thing that moves you before you. So for those of us who are into tarot, all of the people who made the first tarot decks, who used the first tarot decks, are our ancestors of spirit. And ancestors of place, the people who were in the place that you are in before you were. So those are the top 3 positions in this spread. Then we have a space here for good ancestorships, because of course we're not just descendants, are we? We ourselves are ancestors in some way, whether we are ancestors of family, of spirit, of place. There will be people who come after us. So what can we do? How can we bring in our dedication to good ancestorship? How can we be good ancestors? We have a space here for a heart message. This might be a message from the ancestors if they do have a message to send from the heart to the heart for us this week. We have a space here for ancestral patterns. So often there are patterns that some of them are so-called good, some of them are so-called bad, but there are patterns that can be passed down through generations. And so this is a space to look at what's there for us this week particularly, and then finally honouring the ancestors. How can we honour the ancestors in the way that we are this week? So that's the spread for you. I'll be reading with the Spacious Tarot today, and I'll invite you to just take a deep breath and ask to receive what you need. And of course, because it is an ancestral reading, if there are ancestors that you work with or you'd like to work with, that you'd like to invite to be present for the reading and perhaps to send you whatever little messages they have for you, you can make that invitation now. Okay, so ancestors of family. How can we relate with ancestors of family this week? And we have here in this Spacious Tarot deck, I have the expansion pack in there, and that has extra cards, and the Libra card has a lot of what I believe are monarch butterflies flying through the sky. So you've got a little wing down here and a procession of butterflies going up into the sky, into the clouds. So Libra, of course, is about balance. And what these butterflies do is that they migrate. So possibly for those of you who are working with ancestors of family this week, or that would like to work with ancestors of family this week, you might look at the migrations your family has been involved in. And depending on the circumstances of those migrations, there might be all sorts of things that come up. So do remember to be balanced within yourself as you do this work. But that is where you can start this week, with relating with ancestors of family. And what I really like about this card as well is you do have the butterflies are kind of in a line in a procession. So it is a reminder that we do, there is a chain, if you like, or there is always a link going back from generation to generation. For ancestors of spirit, How might you relate with ancestors of spirit this week? And we have here the card for water, the element of water. So whatever it is that you do, and this might be, ancestors of spirit's a funny one because it can be about your profession, or it can be about your hobbies, it can be about whatever moves your spirit for you. So whatever that is, if there is something to do with water, then that would be the way to do it. So if there's a place near you that is a sacred place of water that your ancestors of spirit might have worked with, then that's one way to do it. If your ancestors of spirit might have worked with water in any way, then your invitation is perhaps to carry on that tradition. And if you're not sure what this means in terms of your ancestors of spirit, then it might be worth spending time with water. So that can be there's so many ways to spend time with water. That can be about a place that has water. It can be about sitting in water, sitting with water, meditating with water, mindfully drinking water. All of these things might this week help you to connect with your ancestors of spirit. And then ancestors of place, the people who were here before you were. So these ancestors, family, spirit and place, they might overlap sometimes and sometimes they might not. So that's just something that is worth always knowing. So ancestors of place, how can we relate with our ancestors of place this week? And we have another of these expansion cards. It's Aquarius, and look at this. A planet, I believe Saturn with a ring, maybe Neptune. We've got a planet, we've got lightning in the sky, this beautiful starry sky, and then that landscape underneath. And the thing about these Spacious Tarot cards is that there is space in them. That's the way they were designed. When you open it up, it says this space is for you. So the space for connecting with your ancestors of place, it might be something like stargazing. So we live, or I can't say where everyone who's watching this lives, but our world and the territories of our world, as a general rule, are highly populated, dense, lots of buildings, lots of things going on. But you don't have to go back very far before you get to people who were relating with the land and relating with the skies above, as well as a lot of sky in this picture, in a certain way. And so perhaps for you to connect with your ancestors of place, the best way to do that this week is to connect with the place in a way that they might have. So, stargazing is a wonderful way. It's timeless. I don't believe there's any generation of human beings that have not gazed at the stars, often in wonder or in awe. If you can do that, find a way to do that in the place that you're in, then you're doing exactly what your ancestors of place did, and that creates a space for you to connect with them. Good ancestorship then. How can we be good ancestors? And it's another one of these expansion cards. It's Sagittarius, and you see the space in this card right down the center there. It's a path through the woods, and it's kind of misty, and there's light at the end of that path. So I think there's something here about there is a nebulousness. We can't see into the future. It's misty. We can't see what's at the end of that path, but we can acknowledge the path we're walking. And sometimes, the path we're walking can be walking through the woods, can be a bit scary, can be a bit confusing if we're not well oriented. And good ancestorship can be like that because, we all want to leave a better world for those who come next. And we're all dealing with the realities of surviving in the world that we live in. So I think this is an invitation to just keep on the path. Know what it is that you do want to create. and check in. So if you feel like you might be straying from that path, if you don't feel that you are behaving in a way that's suitable to a good ancestor, or if you don't feel connected to being a good ancestor at the moment, just remind yourself of what your path is. And of course, you as an ancestor can also call on your ancestors to help you to be the ancestor, the best ancestor that you can. So you might want to check in with some of your ancestors as to, I like to ask my ancestors to keep me on the path. It's a very simple request. It involves a commitment from me that I'm going to do my best to stay on my path, whatever it is, a trust from me that there is a path, and a willingness to collaborate, to work together with them. And with those things, often you will have ancestors who will help to guide you. You're not on your own. That's another really important thing about this good ancestorship. In a world that increasingly feels very separate, you're not on your own. We're not on our own. Heart message. So space for a message from the ancestors to our hearts, from our hearts to the ancestors. I don't know. Let's see what comes up for this position. And we've got the Explorer of Wands. So that's equivalent to the Knight of Wands in many decks. And you've got here a salamander with a wand. It's about the same size probably as itself, and a fiery background. So wands is the suit of fire. It's about fire. It's about creativity, spirit, and fire. So the Explorer of Wands, I believe this card goes with the one about good ancestorship, actually. And the reason for that is that the Explorer of Wands is someone who is willing to move forwards, is willing to get stuck in, to do things, but not out of reactivity, but out of direction. So is willing to really put all their energy into a certain direction. And that's why I believe this card goes with this good ancestorship message about staying on the path. So the heart message is almost something like, follow your path, follow your passions, and they are the path. Ancestral patterns, how can we, or how might we be called to work with or become aware of our ancestral patterns this week? And we have Scorpio, so we have this beautiful midnight or moonlit scene with a rose, which of course has its thorns as well. Again, those stars in the sky that we had there in Ancestors of Place. And so this is a card. It's about mystery and depth, intrigue, and the things that might sting. And the things that might sting can also be very, very beautiful. So the patterns here, I believe, we're looking at cycles as the moon in that card. So the moon's about cycles. And we're looking at things that are tangled, it's not simple. You've got that sort of beauty of the rose with the spikiness of the scorpion, of the thorns. And that mystery, that depth, that darkness of the night. So not quite being able to necessarily see all of them. So as something to be aware of, it might be that you can't yet see all of your ancestral patterns. And that every ancestral pattern that you might choose to work with, there will be something to be gained, there will be something to be healed, and there will be something to protect yourself from. And that can feel confusing, that can feel a bit entangled, and that's okay. That's all part of the process as well. But definitely an invitation as well there to unconscious work with that. If you've done my Ancestors course, there is a section on ancestral patterns. So if you are wanting to work with ancestral patterns this week, that might be somewhere to start. And then finally, honouring the ancestors. How can we honour the ancestors this week? I always say honouring the ancestors, you know, sometimes people tend to think that's about or only about veneration. Of course, veneration of the ancestors is very important. But we can honour the ancestors with our every being. With everything that we do, we can behave honourably. And that brings honour to our ancestors. And whether those are ancestors who have complex patterns, ancestors who we might have profound disagreements about things they've done or values they've held, or whether they're ancestors who are more supportive, that we perhaps feel more in alignment with, whatever those ancestors are, we are only doing right when we act honourably by our ancestors, and also again as part of that good ancestorship. Acting honourably is an important part of that. And how can we honour the ancestors this week? And so we've got the Seven of Wands. It's another Wands card. It's about fire. So if you do want to do a little ritual with the ancestors, one of the ones that I really like to do around this time of year particularly, I use tea lights. You can use whatever you like. And it's to just light a candle for each one, say their name, a few words, what you remember them for, what you'd like to say to them, whatever it is that you'd like to say. And just leave those candles burning. And I find it really, really, you know, this time of year, it's dark, it's cold, and somewhere in a special space in my home, I'll have a lot of burning candles. And some of those are for sort of beloved dead people that I knew and loved and have passed on. And some of those are for ancestors that I didn't know, but I would like to honour anyway. So that's one little ritual that you could do to honour the ancestors. The Seven of Wands is a card of rising to challenges as well. So, you know, it's not rising to really, really bad challenges. Or they might be bad, but they're within your capabilities. So, you know, you might be challenged this week. Know that you can rise to it. And that perhaps if you are feeling challenged and you want some energy with you to help you to rise to it, you know, you can remind yourself of your ancestors, that they are with you, that you carry all the lessons and the strengths that they carried as well. And that you can rise to this challenge with those different wands. So that's our reading for the week ahead. If you would like to find more tarot resources, I currently have The Magician running live on the Guided by Keziah app. The next session is Love on the 11th of November, Tarot and Love. There are also plenty of recordings of previous sessions and lots of other tarot resources on the Guided by Keziah app. So do take a look around and find and enjoy them. I wish you a wonderful week ahead. Take good care and blessings on you and yours.